The morning sun hit the glass walls of Regalia Motors, the most elite luxury car showroom in the city, where only the wealthy dared to step inside, and where the staff treated customers like royalty, but only the customers they approved of. The showroom was gleaming, polished to perfection, a place where arrogance lived comfortably behind marble counters and designer suits. At exactly 9:10 a.m., a tall black man in a sharp charcoal suit walked through the entrance. His stride was calm, confident, yet humble. His name was Derek Cole, a 38-year-old billionaire CEO known to the financial world as the Silent Storm. He didn't flaunt his wealth, never posted it, never flexed. He let his success speak in quiet numbers that made boardrooms tremble. Today, he had only one goal: to buy a car for his mother's upcoming birthday. A luxury one, something she'd never buy for herself. But as Derek stepped onto the marble floor, conversations slowed. Heads turned. A few brows lifted. The receptionist, a pale young woman named Haley, looked him up and down, her expression shifting from polite to dismissive in a heartbeat. Sir, she said hesitantly, I think you might be looking for the dealership across the street. They, have more affordable options. Derek paused. I'm exactly where I intended to be, he replied with a patient smile. Haley blinked, caught off guard, but not enough to hide her prejudice. Before she could respond, the showroom manager appeared. Richard Dalton, thin, arrogant, and proud of his exclusive client instincts. He was the kind of man who judged a person's bank balance by their shoes, skin tone, and how loudly they announced themselves. Is there a problem? Richard asked, stepping in front of Derek, as if blocking him from entering further. No problem at all, Derek said. I'm here to view the new Solaris LX. Richard's lips curled. Sir, that model costs more than most houses. We don't show it to browsers. Derek raised an eyebrow. Browsers? Yes, Richard said, lowering his voice. We get people who come in just to take pictures or pretend they can afford something here. We prefer working with serious buyers. A couple nearby customers glanced over, sensing tension but pretending not to watch. Derek inhaled slowly. He had dealt with this all his life, ignorance dressed in a suit. I'm a serious buyer, Derek stated calmly. Richard chuckled. Of course you are, he said sarcastically. Look, why don't you save yourself the embarrassment? We're very busy with actual clientele. Derek stayed silent. He noticed the salesman behind Richard, Miguel, shifting uncomfortably. Miguel recognized Derek. He had seen him once on the cover of Forbes' Black Innovators magazine. But before he could speak up, Richard snapped at him. Don't bother, Miguel. I'll handle this. Miguel bit his lip but stepped back. Just then, a wealthy couple entered. Richard's entire demeanor flipped, smiling, bowing slightly, offering coffee within seconds. The switch was so blatant that even the couple raised their brows. Derek waited politely. Richard returned after entertaining the couple and looked at Derek as if he was still there by mistake. So, Richard said sharply, are we done? Derek looked him in the eye, calm, controlled, unshaken. No, he answered, we are not. Haley sighed loudly. Sir, please leave. You're making other customers uncomfortable. That was the moment Derek's expression finally shifted, not anger but disappointment. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cause a disturbance. I simply asked to see a vehicle. Richard scoffed. And I'm saying we don't waste resources on hopeless leads. Derek nodded slowly. Understood. He turned around and walked out. The security guard didn't bother hiding the suspicion in his stare as Derek passed. The moment the glass doors shut behind him, the staff sighed in relief, as if they'd avoided trouble. But they had no idea trouble was coming. Derek took out his phone, dialed a number. A woman answered instantly. Good morning, Mr. Cole, she said. How can I assist you? Monica, Derek said, his voice finally firm. I need Regalia Motors ownership documents, current shareholder list, and valuation reports on my desk within the next hour. There was a pause. Then, are we buying a new company, sir? Yes, Derek replied. Effective immediately. Of course. Should I gather the legal team? All of them. Derek hung up and looked back at the building. The arrogance, the discrimination, the polished facade hiding rotten behavior. He didn't believe in revenge, but he believed in correction. Swift, undeniable correction. Inside the showroom, Richard laughed with another employee. These people walk in with no money and big dreams. Happens every week. Haley nodded. He didn't Even look like he had a car, let alone millions. Miguel stayed quiet. He knew better. What they didn't know was this. By sunset, the man they dismissed would own everything they were standing in. Every car, every file, every key, even the marble floor they disrespected him on. And the first thing he would do was deal with Richard and Haley. By noon, Derek Cole was seated in his private office, sunlight streaming across the mahogany desk, a wall of city skyline behind him. The office smelled faintly of polished leather and fresh paper, a subtle reminder that power was often quiet, deliberate, and meticulous. On his desk lay 3 folders, each labeled with the name Regalia Motors, along with shareholder lists, financial statements, and legal reports. Derek didn't rush. He studied every line, every number, every shareholder connection. His fingers drummed lightly on the leather surface, a rhythm that matched his mind ticking through strategy. Owning a dealership wasn't about vanity. Not for him. It was about sending a message. Disrespect might go unnoticed in polite society, but in business, mistakes like the ones made by Richard Dalton had consequences. By 1 p.m., his assistant, Monica, brought in the legal team. A circle of the city's most formidable corporate lawyers, all in sharp suits, all aware of Derek Cole's reputation for swift and final action. They leaned over the documents, asking pointed questions, confirming loopholes, ensuring every clause in the shareholder contracts was airtight. Derek didn't flinch. He knew the value of precision. "Derek," Monica said, her voice low, "the purchase can be finalized within 4 hours if we move fast. You'll have full control, including management changes." Derek nodded. "Good. Let's move faster. I want this done by closing. Within minutes, signatures were inked, papers notarized, and transfers processed." Derek watched the digital ticker on his phone, confirming the movement of funds, a deal worth hundreds of millions, transferring ownership of Regalia Motors into his name. By 3 p.m., the transfer was officially complete. The dealership that had laughed at him that morning now legally belonged to him. He didn't celebrate. Not yet. Instead, he reviewed the company's internal reports, employee performance, customer complaints, sales trends. There were glaring issues. Richard's arrogance was mirrored in the company culture. Staff rewarded the wealthy and dismissed anyone else. Derek's eyes narrowed. Changing this culture would be the first order of business. Meanwhile, back at the showroom, Richard and Haley were still lounging in the customer lounge, oblivious to what was happening. Richard was bragging about how he had handled the man who walked in earlier. "He didn't even look like he could afford a Solaris LX, Richard said smugly. "I gave him the polite brush-off. Probably won't come back." Haley giggled. "Exactly. Some people just don't belong in places like this." Miguel, standing near the showroom floor, watched silently. He remembered Derek Cole, the man on Forbes covers, the innovator, the billionaire who didn't need to flaunt anything. Something in Miguel's gut told him that the man's calm demeanor wasn't weakness. By 4 p.m., Derek arrived at Regalia Motors. Security doors opened automatically for him. The receptionist, Haley, froze. She looked around, searching for the familiar manager who usually guided customers. Richard appeared from the back, phone in hand, probably checking market updates, unaware of who had just entered. "Good afternoon," Derek said, voice calm but commanding. "I believe you've met me earlier," Haley stammered. Yes, sir, but—" "No buts," Derek interrupted. "I am now the owner of this dealership, effective immediately." Richard's coffee nearly spilled. What? That's impossible." "Check your emails," Derek said lightly. "You'll find the transfer documents, verified signatures, legal approvals, everything. All correct. All legal." Richard's face drained of color. The arrogance, the smugness, all vanished in seconds, replaced with panic. "This must be a mistake." "No mistake," Derek replied. "You see, your judgment this morning reflected not only on your professionalism, but on your ethics. That behavior cannot continue under my ownership." Haley backed away, her mind racing. The receptionist who had dismissed him now felt the weight of the man she had misjudged. Miguel, on the other hand, straightened. Relief, not fear. He had expected this turn. Derek walked across the showroom floor, touching the cars with careful respect, as if blessing them. "These vehicles are now a reflection of excellence, not prejudice," he said. Richard stammered. I don't understand. How did you—" Derek cut him off, voice calm, razor sharp. "I understood one simple fact. Discrimination has consequences, And wealth, while impressive, is not the measure of a man. Respect is. You will either adapt to my standards or leave. Your choice. He paused, scanning the room. Employees shifted uncomfortably under his gaze. Derek smiled faintly. The first step is simple. Customer service. Everyone, regardless of background or appearance, receives the same respect and attention. No exceptions. By 5 p.m., the staff had received initial training sessions via Derek's directives. Managers were replaced where necessary, and policies rewritten. Derek didn't gloat, didn't yell. He simply asserted authority, the kind that demanded respect without raising a voice. As the sun dipped behind the city skyline, the dealership had transformed, not physically but in spirit. Fear and arrogance were replaced by a careful, respectful professionalism. And for Derek Cole, the morning's insult was a reminder: power could be silent, swift, and absolute. Richard Dalton left early that day, humiliated and defeated. Haley followed, shaken to her core. Miguel stayed behind, quietly observing the man who had just corrected an entire culture in a single afternoon. And Derek. He walked toward his car, his calm smile returning. He didn't need applause. He didn't need recognition. The lesson had been delivered, and he had ensured it would be remembered. The city woke the next morning to whispers that traveled faster than traffic reports. Derek Cole had bought Regalia Motors. Social media exploded with screenshots of press releases, legal filings, and videos of Derek walking into the dealership, calm as a storm yet commanding every eye in the room. By 8 a.m., news channels were scrambling to cover the story, highlighting the irony: a man denied service now owned the entire establishment. Inside the showroom, Derek arrived before anyone else. The staff, still stunned, watched him from behind counters and polished vehicles. Miguel, the lone employee who had shown discretion the day before, approached cautiously. "Morning, Mr. Cole," he said, voice steady but respectful. "Congratulations." "Thank you, Miguel," Derek replied, acknowledging him with a nod. "Your professionalism yesterday did not go unnoticed. Continue that behavior, and you'll have opportunities here others won't see for years." Miguel exhaled silently, a weight lifted off his shoulders. He had known that Derek Cole didn't just wield money, he wielded respect. It demanded excellence, but also fairness. Derek made his way to the management office. Richard Dalton and Haley were already there, sitting stiffly in chairs, fidgeting nervously. Their faces betrayed a mix of disbelief, embarrassment, and dread. Derek didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Every step, every pause carried authority. "Good morning," Derek said evenly. "I trust you've reviewed the policies I sent last night?" Richard coughed, clearing his throat. "Yes, sir. We understand the expectations." Derek's eyes were steady, piercing. "Good. From now on, customer treatment is non-negotiable. No discrimination, no exceptions. Your job is to facilitate respect and professionalism. If you cannot meet these standards, I suggest you reconsider your positions." Haley's hands trembled slightly. "Sir, I didn't realize." Derek held up a hand. "I understand that mistakes happen, but ignorance is no excuse when opportunity is offered. You will learn, or you will leave." With the formalities addressed, Derek moved through the showroom, inspecting every car as if conducting a silent evaluation of the employees through their reflection. Every display, every vehicle, every interaction would now mirror the standards he demanded: excellence, integrity, and respect. By late morning, Derek called a press conference in the dealership's main hall. Reporters, camera crews, and curious onlookers filled the space, snapping photos and whispering among themselves. Derek stepped up to the podium, smooth, confident, calm, a CEO in total control. "Good morning," he began, his voice steady. "Earlier this week, I visited this showroom as a customer. I was denied service based on a judgment that had nothing to do with my intentions or qualifications. Today, I am proud to announce that I am the new owner of Regalia Motors. But this purchase is not about revenge. It is about correcting a culture that allows discrimination to flourish. From this moment forward, every person who walks through these doors will receive the same respect and service, regardless of their background, appearance, or wealth." Cameras flashed, capturing every word. Reporters scribbled notes furiously. Social media went into overdrive. The message was clear: Derek Cole, the man who had once been dismissed, had not only corrected the situation, but had done so with dignity, strategy, and decisive action. The staff watched the broadcast live on the showroom monitors. Richard Dalton's jaw was tight. Haley's eyes filled with tears. Miguel smiled quietly, understanding the magnitude of the lesson that had just unfolded. By afternoon, Derek had begun restructuring management. He implemented training programs, rewrote customer service policies, and introduced an incentive system based not on sales volume alone, but on integrity and respect. Employees who excelled were rewarded. Those who faltered were given guidance or asked to leave. He also made a point of personally reviewing high-value deals, demonstrating that he did not just own the company on paper, but would be actively involved in ensuring the culture matched his standards. No arrogance, no discrimination, no shortcuts. Word of Derek's acquisition reached industry circles quickly. Competitors whispered about the audacity and precision of the move. Social media users celebrated him as a disruptor, a man who transformed an elite, exclusionary environment into one of accountability and equality. As the sun set behind the skyline, Derek walked through the showroom once more. The cars gleamed under the soft light, but it wasn't their shine he noticed. It was the shift in atmosphere. Fear had been replaced by respect. Arrogance had been replaced by attention to detail. And those who had underestimated him had learned that wealth without integrity might open doors, but respect and strategic action could reshape entire industries. Derek paused by a Solaris LX, running his hand gently over the hood. He smiled faintly. Today wasn't about a car or a dealership. It was about rewriting a narrative. The man they underestimated had not only claimed his space but transformed the environment for everyone who would come after him. And he wasn't done. The next morning, Regalia Motors opened under an entirely new regime. Derek Cole, calm and unassuming as ever, arrived before the staff. But today, it wasn't just about asserting authority. It was about embedding change. Employees moved quickly to prepare for the day, but there was a tension in the air. They knew the owner had arrived, but no one truly knew what he might do. Derek walked the showroom floor, greeting employees by name. Not a single forced smile, not a single patronizing tone, just respect. Miguel, still the only one who had shown him deference the previous day, followed closely. "Sir, should I brief the staff?" he asked. Derek shook his head. "They'll learn quickly enough today. Actions speak louder than words." At 10 a.m., the doors opened for customers. Derek positioned himself near the entrance, not as a showman, but as a presence, a reminder that the business now operated under a new standard. Almost immediately, a young black couple entered, looking hesitant but hopeful. They were greeted warmly, offered coffee, and escorted to a private viewing area for their selected vehicles. Richard Dalton and Haley, now demoted to junior staff positions as per Derek's restructuring, stood nearby, awkward and silent. Their arrogance had vanished, replaced by an awareness of the consequences of misjudgment. Richard's hands shook slightly as he attempted to guide customers politely, realizing that his behavior the previous week had cost him his authority. Derek approached the couple, extending a hand. "Good morning, I'm Derek. I understand you're interested in the Solaris LX." "Yes, sir," the young man replied, amazed at the warm reception. "We didn't expect this kind of service here." "That's exactly why I'm here," Derek said, smiling. "No one should feel out of place because of who they are. We treat everyone with dignity, every single client, every single time." As the couple began discussing options with Miguel, Derek observed the staff carefully. The difference in their interactions now was palpable. Fear had been replaced with respect, hesitation replaced by attentive professionalism. Employees who had once scoffed at certain customers now listened, smiled, and guided clients, as if it were second nature. By noon, word of the dealership's transformation had spread through the city. Influencers, journalists, and even competitors arrived, curious to witness the change firsthand. Cameras captured the difference, the same showroom, but now a place where every person was welcomed and every transaction handled with fairness. Richard, still uneasy, attempted to speak with Derek privately. "Sir, I just want to say I'm sorry. I never thought—" Derek raised a hand. "Apologies are only meaningful if they're followed by action. Learn, adjust, and prove yourself through your work. That is all I require." Haley, standing nearby, quietly muttered, "I never imagined he'd handle it this way. Not with anger, not with revenge, just order." Derek heard her, nodded slightly, but did not respond. Lessons were best absorbed silently. By 3 p.m., Derek had conducted several meetings with management, implementing new incentive structures, training schedules, and customer engagement protocols. He emphasized integrity above all. Profits were important, yes, but not at the cost of humanity. Outside, the city's elite began whispering about Derek Cole, the man who had been denied service at a luxury showroom, only to become its owner within hours. Business forums and social media platforms highlighted the audacity and precision of his actions. "A billionaire who doesn't flaunt his wealth but commands respect," read one headline. "An entrepreneur who redefines accountability," read another. Inside the showroom, employees began to adjust to the new environment. Miguel moved confidently, assisting clients and answering questions. Richard attempted to lead a small group of new hires, mindful of every word and gesture. Haley, though still nervous, smiled genuinely for the first time in her professional life. Derek watched it all quietly, satisfied not with his victory over individuals, but with the lasting change he had created. He knew this was only the beginning. A culture reshaped here would ripple outward, affecting everyone who walked through these doors for years to come. As the sun set, Derek stepped out of the showroom, glancing back at the building. The gleaming vehicles reflected the fading light, but it wasn't their shine he noticed. It was the atmosphere, the transformation from arrogance to respect. He thought back to the morning he had been denied entry. That insult, meant to demean, had instead become the catalyst for change. In a world that often judged people by appearance or background, Derek Cole had proven a single truth: respect cannot be demanded. It must be earned, demonstrated, and when necessary, enforced. By evening, Regalia Motors had reopened its doors fully under Derek's ownership. Every employee understood the stakes. Every customer, regardless of who they were, would be treated with dignity. And the man who had underestimated Derek Cole, Richard Dalton, would never forget the lesson. Derek drove away quietly, his thoughts already on the next challenge, the next opportunity. The dealership was his, but more importantly, the integrity of the business was restored. And in doing so, Derek Cole had reminded the world that true power lies not in arrogance or wealth alone, but in vision, strategy, and the unwavering commitment to do what is right.